I thought this was, yes, it would appear that it's there. Please stand. And we've got it that we're getting recorded. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise, September 1st, in case you didn't notice. Yay! Here we are. And in keeping with our Wi-Fi experience, let's get out our phones, hold them up, open it up, and get yourself off of Wi-Fi. Airplane mode is a good way to go because you know if that rings, I'm going to notice you very closely. So airplane mode is a great way to turn off and turn back on, and you won't interfere with the Wi-Fi, and the guys out there in the Zoom audience won't be saying, I can't hear, and it doesn't work. Thank you very much for doing that. So if you haven't done it, do it now. And notice the little guy in the bottom there? He's got a mask on. We've got our masks on. So if you don't have your mask on now, it's a good time because we're going to pledge and sing and do things like that. And keeping with the CDC guidance, we are making sure that everybody in the room is vaccinated. We're all good? And everybody in the room is wearing masks even when they're singing. And I've got to tell you, from here, it's better. Okay, our greeters were Marnie, and I saw Lori, and there were lots of people out there greeting, weren't there? Great to see you all. How many are we? Somebody get a count here before 20. We're getting closer. 25's the goal. Nick Randall, have you memorized the pledge?
Raise the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Nick. And a thought for the day from Jim Blom.
Okay. All you folks practice kindness all day to everybody, and you will realize you're already in heaven now. Jack Kerouac.
Wait, this is it? Huh. I had other ideas about that. No, that was lovely. Thank you, Jim. Joe Gabb.
Good morning, DMR.
Yeah.
How are you this fine morning?
Doing pretty darn good.
What do we got over here? I just see the schlutiest man.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty good, huh? All right, the Campbells are here.
Yay!
Little known fact, when we would sing, one of the very first songs that in our theme song, if you will, or What a Beautiful Morning, Bruce was part of the group that started singing that. So come on up here, Bruce. You and I can do it together.
Is it true that Roy Rogers died the next week?
Well, actually, Bruce had him stuffed. He's in his den. Oh, no, it's Trigger, yeah. All right, everybody. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning! Oh,
What a beautiful day.
I
got a beautiful
feeling. Everything's
going my way.
Fabulous. Love when that happens. Our visitors and guests. Who would like to introduce our visitors and guests? Lori.
Well, I will introduce you with me.
I don't have all the scoop on them. Charlie will introduce them later, but it's Jennifer and Dave or David? Dave. David when he's in trouble by his mom, right? Okay.
Well, I'll take the opportunity since we don't have anybody sitting here. Dave, looks like Nick popped out on us and he's up there. But visiting with us is Mike Carey.
Hey, Mike Carey.
And from the Rotary Club of Sparks, we have past District Governor Bruce Campbell and past District Governor Blaine Campbell.
Yay!
Thanks to Bruce, I am #1 in the badge box now.
And of course, we have lovely Anna going through the membership process right now.
Yay! Hello, Anna Buckler. And then who's in our Zoom audience? Well, we don't see him.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
He's doing. Good to see you guys out there.
David, who is that?
I see Michael. Whoops, I see Michael Bush. Okay, he's right over there. How'd you do that? I see Jim, Darlene, Diana, Linton, Barbara, Linda, Bill, Jim, Dan, and Patrick, and Natalie. And then Charlie Judson is on there, but really he's over there doing all of that wonderful. Were you able to hear what I said?
Yes.
Yep.
Doing all of that wonderful background spotlighting work. He and Michael are our AV crew, and we're so grateful for what they do. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're all here. And it is time to mute all in the Zoom audience. You got that? And our speaker today is David Carpenter from Forbes magazine. He's going to be talking.
I think you muted yourself.
I muted myself.
That's better.
Okay, look at this. Who is welcome in Rotary? All ages, all sizes, all races, all abilities, religions, ethnicities, nationalities, sexual orientations, immigration statuses, socioeconomic backgrounds, gender expressions, and identities. Who can say what's missing from that list? The unvaccinated and the unmasked. Oh, no, they're welcome to be a part of Rotary, right? But not showing up for the meetings. Recognition and gratitude. There's going to be some moments here that you can share your moments of gratitude, your moments of sadness, and this is an excellent time to contribute to the Rotary Foundation, our club foundation, or to commit to do an act of kindness, which you can share or keep to yourself, just as long as you do it, and it's the honor system. I did not see Chris Brocate, but if you are in touch with Chris, I did message him. It's his birthday today. We could have sung, but we would have had to put our masks back on anyway. How about if we just sing in your mind and move on? The Shiny Penny, Natalie McNamara. Last week you were attempting to share, and some people could hear it and some people couldn't, but now's your time. Can we hear you?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you. Thank you.
Oh, hi everyone. Good morning. So I'm not sure who heard the whole story or not. I'll just kind of make it short and sweet. The shiny penny moment for me in my life was when I realized that I had a whole group of neighbors that were very talented, all in their own right. Lots of artists. I lived in somewhat of an artist colony, lots of musicians, and we had a wonderful Buddhist monastery at the end of our road. So I asked the monks if we could put on a festival at the foot of their monastery. It's called the Gyuto Foundation. And they said yes. So there were over 11 performing artists, musicians, singers. The whole community came together. I think we had, gosh, thousands, over 1,000 people that came. And it's called the East Richmond Heights Art and Music Festival. It's completely volunteer. It was all free. I didn't have to do anything else but just close the street down and get some permits and some liability insurance. And that was it. And okay, you can advance to the next slide, David. Our monks came and blessed the ceremony, which was really special because it tied the community together. They're very quiet. They're from Tibet. The leader monk is really super. His name is Donyo. In fact, he was one of the traveling troupe on the Grateful Dead when they were in their heyday. He was the resident monk for the Grateful Dead. It makes him friendly and outgoing, but he also, it's a really special place. I only could share 4 photos because I'm short on time, but this is them with our opening ceremony. We built a stage under a big oak tree and they came and blessed the ceremony, the festival. So you go to the next slide. What do we got here? I forget. So one of our neighbors, her name is Kompeng. You could see her in the background, seated with the drums. She was a Balinese dancer and she performed at a lot of local festivals. And she came in, like I said, this is under the oak tree and it was, they all did it for free. They all just did it for themselves. It was really beautiful, the sounds that they make with their drums and cymbals. And the dancers were incredibly gorgeous. I wish I could share more with you, but there's just one shot. Go to the next slide. And Armando, one of my little neighbor friends up there, he's a train enthusiast up at Tilden Park. And that's a mini steam train that he's on. And he laid his track down and we had all kinds of wonderful, the kids loved it and the adults too. As you can see, everybody wanted to get on that little train. I think that's it. No more?
That was marvelous.
What, is it one more slide?
Okay, Natalie.
How was the attendance?
Attendance was like blew everybody's mind. I think we had over 1,000 people there. It was a very large area because the monastery itself is pretty big. It's about an acre. And then we were at the foot of the driveway at Bernhardt Avenue in East Richmond Heights. So we had the whole street below it. And then you could walk up onto the monastery grounds, which was gorgeous. And so it was a really nice combination of location and, you know, the neighbors who all wanted to come and support each other and their artists. So everyone wants to do it again. Of course, COVID had a little bit of a, you know, we all know what happened. So hopefully it'll get started up again.
Lovely.
That's it.
Thank you. Okay. When we talk about magic moments, they were 10 feet up at Foothill Regional Park. Joe, can you tell us more?
Well, the Monday morning hiking group met over at Hot Monk. They're not open yet, unfortunately, at 7:30. And we took a little drive up to Foothill, which is in Windsor. It was pretty foggy, but which wasn't bad. It was nice and cool. And we had a special guest, Marty Brock Oliver. And Oliver was great, right? But he slept all afternoon, is that it? Along with you? But it was a great trip. We've been doing this on Mondays. Charlie and I will not be here next Monday, and I don't know if anyone else wants to pick the ball up. It's kind of loosey-goosey, wherever you know, if you want to go local, that's fine. We're going to hopefully, as time goes on, maybe go out to the coast occasionally. We'll have breakfast at Kathy's. And anyway, so if someone wants to pick up Mondays, if not, we'll probably pick it up the following Monday to take a little hike.
Is there somebody who wants to do that hike on Monday? Who would like to go hiking Monday morning, 7:30?
Oh, it is Labor Day, isn't it? Well, it's good labor though.
Yeah, as long as you're not driving, you're good, right? Well, if somebody moves forward, just let me know. I'll send out an email blast for those who would like to go. If I don't hear anything, Monday's off. And while we're at it, So, O for onions, O for ducks, O for outstanding volunteers. Ladies and gentlemen, the folks who went over and packed food and represented us at Redwood Empire Food Bank, you should be there.
Nick's gonna tell you all about it.
We did onions, a lot of onions. You know how much a 50-pound sack of onions weighs? It's a lot. And we took big sacks and made them into little sacks. And I think, I can't remember what the statistics were, but there were probably maybe 30 people there, volunteers from various organizations, and we packed a lot of onions.
Did your hands smell for a long time?
Yeah, wonderful.
That's a good thing. What a wonderful accomplishment. You know, it's wonderful how well we work to feed people who need help. It's a lovely thing. Proud to be a member and glad you guys were there. So, Barbara, can you tell us what we're seeing on this screen?
Yes, this is the first group of participants down. This is in Ecuador, our global grant for microcredit, and they've gone through a training program for business skills, and they are receiving their certificates. Now, each of the students was matched with a university student from one of the universities in Guayaquil. So they had not just the instructions, but they had a person to really help them. One of the key ingredients in Rotary Foundation microcredit global grants is training. So, and that's part of what makes Rotary's program so successful. So this is exciting. This is the first group of 25 students. There are a little over 100 participants in this global grant.
Wow, that's awesome. Look at that. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, so anybody with some moment to share that they would like to spend a little time with and share with us, or anybody who got featured in recent time that would like to kind of make a contribution towards the things that are important and keep us up and rolling. Then I will share. I was missing last week. Yes, and things worked well. This was the time that my mother-in-law chose to pass away. She passed away in the hospital. Everybody was able to be there, be close with her. She was ready for this. She had been debilitated by a stroke a year and a half ago and was getting 24/7 care. So we were happy to support her and keep her going. She got what is what's called the old person's friend, pneumonia, and that took her. So we're really sorry to see her go. And in recognition of that, I'm going to make a contribution to the Rotary Foundation, one that, because I know that that's important and that that's good. And it does my heart good and is a part of my healing to recognize her with that contribution. She's a real believer in the importance of people taking care of people. Anybody else before I pass on this slide? Let's go. Announcements. Anybody got an announcement for the good of the order before I get to the usual ones? Nobody in Zoom? Here we go. Oh, Kathy?
Should I say First Friday?
Yeah, talk about First Friday. Let's hear all about it.
Well, I think we have 37 RSVPs at Mexico Lindo this Friday. We'll have a margarita bar and a lot of food and a beautiful garden setting. and I'm looking forward to it. And my girlfriend from Columbia will be there, so that'll be fun too.
And are our guests here welcome?
Pardon?
Anna and Mike
She
are,
already signed up. I mean,
all right.
yeah. So Anna's bringing a girlfriend also. And yeah.
Sweet.
So if you have people that are thinking of becoming members, invite them over. This is a great time to experience what our club's like.
So we can bring significant others. And Bruce and Helene, are, now that you know we're going to be doing this, are you going to come back down for it?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, fine.
Okay, and Anna has an announcement.
Hi, I work for West County Community Services, and right now we're promoting we're promoting a renter's assistance program where the landlord or the tenant can apply for the program. We can pay up to, I believe it's 18 months of rent in arrears. So if you know any landlords or renters that are in arrears with the rent, we can also pay rent 3 months in advance. For landlords, in order for the landlord to get the money, the landlord has to invite the tenant, and then the tenant has to agree to the program. But yes, I just wanted to let people know that the program is out there. It's called the Emergency Renters Assistance Program, and we're also paying utilities for people. So if the utilities are in arrears, we can pay for utilities. Right now, we've paid out $2 million in money, and we've helped about 266 families.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you, Anna.
Is that only for people with addresses in Sebastopol?
No, the program is actually for everyone in Sonoma County. Yes, and there are 10 nonprofit organizations that are running the program. But what I have heard is that we are one of the fastest in processing the applications.
So that's for all of Sonoma County. Thank you. I was just repeating because it's a little hard for all of us to hear. And good job on the mic. You had it right up there. So volunteers are needed. We're never going to replace Larry because there is no Larry, aside from the guy who's down in San Jose now. But a tough thing for us is the setup in the morning and getting here in time, and the breakdown afterwards, and making it so that that we all work together to get ourselves in and up and out. So if you are able to volunteer to take a shift, you know, like you say, all right, I'm going to cover a month, and can help us out with that, it would be great. Otherwise, it's just a few of us and it's the same folk, and that's not fair because we all are in this together, right? So if you are willing to do that, Natalie is going to be reaching out and trying to find folk who are willing to do that. Remember that we are a small group. Folk in the Zoom audience, you're welcome to come on down at the end of the meeting and help us clean up, but I don't think that's as likely. So look around in the room. You got to be able-bodied because it does require some movement, but if you can do it, that would be great. And district conference coming up. So for the district conference, registration is still open. It is October 8th through 9th. It's going to be right here at the DoubleTree with baseball as the theme. So if you show up in your baseball costume or a hat, I happen to know that the fellow who's running it is a fan of the Boston Red Sox. Nope. Don't say boo, that's a great team. I've got my Boston Red Sox hat at the ready, and I'm going to wear it confusedly with my Giants jersey. So if you wish to sign up, I have an email that you need to reach. You can't go on the district website and just sign up. You need to reach out to Valerie Halsey. So if you would like to join this event, the cost is $279 for the entire event. That gives you meals, a couple of days worth of great speakers, really good opportunity, and a chance to meet Rotarians from up and down the district. and be involved with leadership. So check that out. And then if you have too good a time, and I understand that a former district governor, Wolf, is supplying more wine than I believe there is people. So if you have way too good a time, you can get a room there for $249 a night, or I'll bring my pickup truck and you can sleep in the back. So at that event, they're going to have a special moment where you get to ask questions of the district governors, the past one, the recently passed one, Doug, and then the future ones, what we call laughingly the G line or the G string. That's what they call them. So if you've got a question besides one about what's that G string all about, then submit it and they will respond from the stage. Unfortunately, up till now, they have not made plans to Zoom this meeting, so you can't attend that way. I apologize. I did urge it. So next week's presenter is going to be Tim Miller from West County Community Services. He's going to be giving an in-person update on, and you work with Tim Miller. He's going to be giving an update on our situation around homeless services and the direction of that. West County Services ongoing rental utility thing. We'll get into more depth with that. And thank you, Anna, for the preview. That's who's coming next week. So be here. You don't want to miss it. So, calendar items. We already heard about Mexico Linda, which is, by the way, on Main Street in Brayton, right? Or the main thoroughfare in Brayton, right there on the right. Be sure to be there. And there may or may not be a Monday sunrise hiking social, but it's always possible. September 6th, Community Services, and September 10th. You got an email about this. Santa Rosa East-West virtual fundraiser is up and going, and if you haven't signed in, you can go in and have a look. I've gone and looked at the preview. The auction isn't open yet, but it's looking like a pretty spectacular event with lots of trips and prizes and things that you can do. So if you go in there and you see something that you like, by all means, please support them. If you go up in there and you see something that's going cheap, buy it and then donate it to our next event. Just saying, could be a possibility. Membership committee will be meeting on the 14th. Thank you, Kathy Rogers. Apple Blossom Parade Superheroes with Diana Curtis. Diana, can you give us an update, please?
Unmute. Yes, we are going to be having our parade, as you said, on the 18th. The Rotary Clubs of Sebastopol are celebrating our community service clubs, and be a volunteer, be a superhero. I want to invite all of our members to walk with us. We will have a float and celebrating Rotary and all Rotary does for our community. So I just want to thank you all, and I'll be sending out an email and inviting all of you to walk with us in the Apple Blossom Parade. And thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Superheroes. You get to dress in costumes, walk along, and pass out flyers to garner volunteers. How cool is that? Well, and board meeting September 20th. If you've got an agenda item, something you want the board to discuss, let me know. Email me, call me, whatever. On September 22nd, we'll be having a club assembly. That's the opportunity that you have to learn more about what's going on in the committee structure and our volunteerism outside of the meetings, and to have a look at things that you might want to get involved in. So the committee heads will be talking, you'll have a chance to move around and, or they will move around to tables and also talk with the folk on Zoom so that people can kind of enlist themselves, get involved, and learn what those things are. Does that sound good to everybody? Yeah, good.
Yes.
And then on the 22nd, that same day, what's going on there? Oh, yeah, at 8:30, following that, International Committee. Is that right, Mike?
No, it'll be on the 29th.
Well, I'll have to amend the calendar. The 29th, you heard it here. And this week's program presenter, sorry, Michael?
I just wanted to say that in terms of one of the things that Rotary is doing for the community, on the 13th and 14th, we are going to be working on the stage at Ives Park. That's a Monday and a Tuesday. And we're going to be building a ramp.
Can you come closer or get
Up to the stage, and we will be working on the stage. That's all. I've reached out to some people already. We don't need a whole lot of volunteers for it, but we'll be working on Monday and Tuesday, the 13th and 14th. If anybody wants to come by and give us a hand, we can do so.
People in the Zoom audience, were you able to hear that? Say yes or no. They were not able to hear that. Can you come on up to this?
Yes, we can hear it somewhat.
Oh, I thought I saw this.
That's for you.
So one more time, on the 13th and the 14th of this month, we were going to be rebuilding the stage at Ives Park. This is part of our district community grant. A follow-up to that will be taking place a few weeks later, where we lay out a perimeter for the playground on the other side of the park. So those who would like to join in the fun on Monday the 13th, come on down to the park.
What time?
About 9.
About 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Really grateful that that's happening. What a wonderful thing. So, Charlie.
Okay. So it's my pleasure to introduce David Carpenter. I'll tell you about a industrial design gripe. This morning I went to print out his biography so that I could read it to you this morning, and my printer said I couldn't print because I was low on ink. Well, low is okay, isn't it? I mean, it's like your car doesn't stop until you run out of gas. But they've got a new thing now where it's to sell those really expensive cartridges. So I brought the whole computer. And so David, he's a contributor to Forbes magazine and Lucid News on the topic of breakthroughs and trends in the field of psychoactive drugs. He's the creator of the ongoing written series, Your Neighbors Are Doing Psychedelics, featuring stories of healing through psychoactive substances. His first book is Your Neighbors Are Doing Psychedelics, MDMA. That's available now. And I'll mention that it's available here on the side table. And this is available for sale. The second book is forthcoming, and it's on the psychedelic toad venom, 5-MeO, A Journey into the Mysterious World of 5-MeO-DMT, the most powerful psychoactive drug on the planet. And that's due out this year. So David, come on up here, and I'll hand this over.
Thank you, Charlie. Does it sound okay if I'm right there? Stand up here. So thank you for having me this morning. It's really gratifying to speak to community members like this. I've been on a few podcasts. I've done a little bit of press for the book, but this is by far one of the better experiences being with people like yourselves. I feel like I could have a real impact here and give you information that you might not otherwise come across. So as Charlie said, this is the first book in my series, all about psychedelics, psychoactive drugs, hallucinogenic drugs, whatever you care to call them. I am sort of an accidental advocate with psychedelic drugs and drugs in general. I grew up smack in the middle of the war on drugs in the 1980s. I was in high school during that period, and there was all the kind of Reagan era talk about how drugs were kind of ruining the kids' lives, and they were ruining people's lives in some ways, but it was a little bit overblown. And at the time, I remember thinking, some of this doesn't seem quite right. But still, I was not the kind of kid who went out and smoked pot or did drugs. By far, I liked a couple of beers and that kind of fun. In the years following, I had many friends that were interested in psychedelics. They had said that their minds were expanded, all of the kind of new age talk that you hear from people. Still, I wasn't quite buying it. It wasn't until I was roughly in my 40s that I came across a gentleman who was about 65 years old, really active guy. He worked at the YMCA, he was a spin instructor, rode his bike all over town. He was a referee for college soccer in the town I was living in Asheville, North Carolina. And before he went out for a bike ride one afternoon, he took a little puff of some cannabis. And he said, this is for my back, to help me with my back. But I was like, yeah, sure. You want some like vivid colors and, have a little fun while you're on your bike ride. And he kind of chuckled and he came back and he told me about his bike ride. He said, this really is for my back. I noticed that you kind of gave me a little bit of a look. And I said, oh, okay, that sounds good. It helps you. That's wonderful. Well, I did a little bit of research after that and discovered what I'd already heard quite a bit over the 30 or 35 years before that it does help people with inflammation issues. Of course, you hear about people who have cancer, they're using it for nausea, increased appetite. So I started looking a little more and more into this, and I've been a writer for close to 30 years now and editor at various magazines. So just by happenstance, I came in touch with someone who was looking to fill a position at a national magazine called Cannabis Now. And I kind of bluffed my way in, giving them the idea that I was a person who was into cannabis. Well, really not. Became their managing editor, was one of their staff writers for 2 or 3 years. And that's when I really saw the impact that cannabis was having, that people were actually using this as a medicine in some respects. So I started writing about that. I started interviewing people, and that led me to relationships with Forbes magazine, who discovered that the writing that I was doing wasn't frivolous. It didn't have to do with people smoking 4-foot bongs and in their like frat party kind of situation. It was people that were actually trying to heal themselves, trying to get off of SSRIs, using it for, like my friend Jim, for back pain. So Forbes put me as one of the people that was on the so-called cannabis beat. Within about a year of writing for Forbes, I started to realize all of the research that was coming out from Johns Hopkins, Imperial College London, about these other psychoactive drugs that were helping people with end-of-life fears, horrible treatment-resistant depression. They were using substances like psilocybin, which is in so-called magic mushrooms, using LSD, which I had always heard people went crazy and jumped out windows when they used things like LSD. That led me to MDMA, also called ecstasy or Molly when it's bought illegally. And from there, I started interviewing people that were involved with clinical trials that were happening with MDMA. And very quickly I realized, oh, this is an FDA-sponsored clinical trial, just like anything else. What your blood pressure meds go through, what heart meds, what something like Prozac will go through, the exact same kind of rigorous study that goes on with that is going on currently with MDMA and has been for the last now 22 years. They're finally in phase 3 clinical trials, which means they've proven the first 2 stages of safety, efficacy, that the drug actually works. Specifically, this trial is for PTSD. It's showing that 68% of the people that go through treatments combined with psychotherapy are almost completely free of PTSD. And that blows the pants off of anything, any kind of medicine that has previously been used for PTSD. For instance, SSRIs like Prozac, Zoloft, and things like that tend to have less than a 50% efficacy rate. So this drug that has been seen largely as, a drug of abuse, it's seen in dance halls, and the message has been that it's eating kids' brains apart. Absolutely not true. Illegal versions do have issues, mostly because of adulterants that are put into MDMA by, drug dealers. You can call them entrepreneurs that are trying to make a living out there selling it illegally. Some of them who have less morals are putting in things like ketamine, caffeine, whatever they can put in there to give just kind of a boost and increase their profits, really. So the MDMA, of course, that's being used in these clinical trials is completely pure. It's having astounding effects. And through the writing that I was doing for Forbes magazine, and more recently in the last year for a great group called Lucid News that does stories on psychoactive drugs, I came in contact with a person connected to, he was actually in the FDA trials, the phase 3 trials. His name is Nick Watchhorn, and he's the feature person in this book.
Can't hear.
Michael Cook, you need to unmute.
Test it now. Can you hear?
Okay, we can hear now.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Yes. Can hear now, yes.
Okay, good. So Nick is the person that's featured in my book who went through these clinical trials, and kind of a magical thing that happened that really made this book what it is. It's kind of the soul of this book, I like to say, are the inclusion of his personal journals that he kept throughout the 10-week or so process, having MDMA at 3 different periods for 8 hours apiece, and psychotherapy in between those. His journals went through all the kind of wild emotions that he went through. Having a drug like this really dredges up deep memories for a lot of people, and they're forced to look at them. They're also enabled to look at them as though they're kind of viewing it outside of themselves and with a lot less fear. So they're able to kind of hash through old memories. So Nick's journals were just a wonderful thing for me to include in this book and really give it kind of like a personal touchstone to how this guy felt and how a lot of us feel the trauma that we've had in our life. I've had dozens of people that have contacted me and said, I was never in a severe situation like this guy, having to show up on a crime scene like this and be there for a few days and just see the bloodiness that he saw. But I could relate to these other issues that he's dealt in his life, that he's trying to get through. So I would love to open it up for any questions that you guys have. I'm much more a writer and editor than I'm a presenter. I hope that gave you an idea of what this is about, this book. It's just, as I said, the first in a series, so I'll be doing 4 or 5 more on different drugs with each one of the books. So if I can open it up to Q&A now, I'd love to do that. Yes. How much is your book? The book is basically the cost that I have to print them. They're $5.
And, whoops, am I on?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the information. The part that was most interesting to me was about the FDA clinical trial that is ongoing of MDMA in combination with therapy. What I would value most would be the correlative studies of treatment with therapy and without MDMA, and with MDMA and without therapy, in order to understand what the true role of the MDMA is in improving results in combination with therapy.
Yeah, so they have done some of this kind of work. Definitely the MDMA-assisted therapy, where there's a psychotherapist talking to someone, prepping them beforehand, is without a doubt the more effective version. But that correlation is one that's being talked about quite a bit. This is still kind of developing. Many people have used MDMA and reported, anecdotally, that they've been able to work through their problems on their own, that they've been able to talk with friends about their issues after an MDMA experience kind of opened them up. But without a doubt, someone who is a professional, who's skilled at really helping a person kind of unpeel, the layers of the onion, tends to be more effective.
Well, as most of you know, I've worked at Alcohol and Drug Treatment Center, and are you concerned at all about the methamphetamine component to MDMA?
I'm sorry, say it again?
The methamphetamine component.
No. So initially, I thought, oh God, meth seems to be a scourge, right, across the world, but we hear it here in the US quite a bit. I have since taken a deep dive on this the last 2 years, understood that drugs are just inert compounds. They should have no morality attached to them. There's not good and bad drugs. Methamphetamine is one of these such drugs. It can be abused, absolutely can be abused, but in the MDMA, which methamphetamine, of course, is in there under clinical supervision, it absolutely keeps a person awake and keeps them kind of in an uplifted mood, which, of course, people on meth have that up and they tend to stay up for days. But I'm not worried about that under the supervision of trained therapists. It doesn't seem to be addictive in MDMA. You might hear reports, and I don't mean methamphetamine isn't addictive. It of course is, but MDMA tends to put people into such, it can put them into such uncomfortable positions that it's actually seen as anti-addictive. People don't necessarily want to go back there to that feeling that they had. And as I said, about 68% of people it's showing actually heal from this. So they don't require it anymore.
What it is that I would be concerned, because it seems like most people who do MDMA continue to do MDMA, and that a lot of the
Is cut with fentanyl, yeah. And I know on the illegal market that those adulterants happen and it's dangerous. And I am not here speaking about recreational use. That's not something I really can get behind. Very much in controlled settings is what I'm talking about. And I hear myself saying this to you, that a person who is addicted to alcohol or addicted to opiates or addicted to whatever, does it make sense for them to have MDMA? I have seen so many people in that addictive setting that have benefited from this, and they don't tend to go and abuse it. So I do see that there should be concern over this, that it could be something that's abused, but I'm not seeing it with the people that I've interviewed.
So after the FDA studying this for 22 years, where are they at?
Yeah, so they're currently in phase 3. It's the place where they look at efficacy, where they take the group that's under these trials to many hundreds. At this point, they're making sure that they can hit at least that 68% efficacy, which they are hitting so far in this third trial. They're also trying to make sure that there aren't any safety issues. All is looking good. I mean, there was a little bit of a blip on the radar screen that said people who are doing SSRIs or who are on SSRIs like Prozac might have an adverse reaction. For those people, it's critical to come off of them, which also presents a problem for people to come off those, that they have to be on a schedule where they come off slowly. Everything looks to be positive or pointing towards at least that 68% efficacy rate. So that's where they're at now. They're about a year, they say 2 years from it probably being a doctor-prescribed medicine. It's hard to say for sure, but that's all the experts that are looking at this. And these are serious scientists. These aren't the people who have anything to do with the illegal market. These are people who have a vested interest, Johns Hopkins, Imperial College level. So it's close to becoming a doctor-prescribed medicine.
And I would assume they can't drive if they take the prescription?
That's right, yeah. Again, it's a really controlled setting for this. Unlike, I don't know how much you know about ketamine, but ketamine is the first of all these drugs that has become legal. People can have a ketamine experience over an hour, hour and a half, and I'm not positive about this, but I believe within a couple of hours, a person can drive. It clears the system pretty quickly, something like ketamine. MDMA is not that kind of a drug. People tend to stay the night over after they do it. It's very much treated as an inpatient kind of setup. So yeah, you would not have people driving.
Hello, where would someone in Sonoma County, perhaps someone who is seeing a psychologist, where would they go to benefit from this?
So currently you would have to qualify for the trials, which it can be difficult to get into these trials. It can be difficult to get into any trial. Whether it's cancer or whatever, they're not easy to first of all find and come in contact with and get into. Probably the best route would be through an organization called MAPS, which is the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, and I can email that to Charlie after this if anyone wants to take a look. Those trials they can happen all over the country. I think there are 12 different locations in the country. One of them, I believe, is in Santa Cruz, so they may have a possibility to go to one in Santa Cruz.
David, do you know if in the studies they started to bring the VA into the discussion?
They are, yeah. This is something that has just happened over the last 6 months or so, but they are looking to help vets. So yes, that is happening, and MAPS is having a big impact. That's definitely a group of people that could use this. So yes. Sure.
When this was invented by Merck in 1912, what was the purpose of the drug at that time? How did it come about?
Yeah, so the purpose of the drug at the time was to help with uterine bleeding. It was actually a precursor that was made for a drug called mesylfrion, I believe is how you pronounce it, for that purpose of uterine bleeding, and they found it to be this novel chemical that they thought, wow, there's something here, put it on the shelf for a bit and pulled it back out like 30 years later. So that's how it started.
David, we're at our time now.
Okay.
We're very grateful for you visiting, and folks, over here on the entry table is a book written by David Carpenter that you can purchase and read more about this. And would this give us a way to get in touch with you if we wish to learn more?
It would, yeah. At the back of the book, there is a place to get directly in touch with me, to email me, or to go to my website and see what I'm doing for subsequent books.
Wonderful. And how much did you say this is if somebody purchases today?
That is $5.
$5. There you go. Thank you very much for visiting with us. We're very grateful for it.
Thank you very much. It was so much fun talking to all of you.
Thank you. Very grateful. And by the way, my apologies to the folk in the Zoom audience. I did not come over and look to see if you had questions. If you do, please submit them in writing along with an opportunity for me to be chastised.
That's a fine video.
We have plenty of those. Yeah. Opportunities to chastise me. I just want to point out that my mess up meeting hasn't happened yet. I'm thinking that we will do that after we get through an entire time with zero technology problems. So I think my mess up meeting isn't going to be till next year. No, I don't think I get to determine that, but oh, where has my little bell gone? Diana Curtis, where's your badge?
Yeah, I'm here.
Marty's taking my fines this year. Yeah, you don't know? So am I. So, Diana Curtis, please share with us a joke for the day.
Yes, I do. 3 things happen when you get to be my age. First, your memory goes. I've forgotten the other 2.
That was very good. And mask up again because you want to sing Happy Trails. Joe.
Happy trails to you.